Thanks, Steve.
Okay. With over 140 people in the house, I think we can begin, Amir.
Yeah.
We're live streaming on a few social networks, so enjoy and good luck.
Hey, welcome to our special session today. Going to talk about NFTs and the impact on the sports universe. We have a great panel of experts with us today. I see more and more people joining in. Let's allow them one more minute. Dovi, are you still with us?
Through fire and water, I'm right here by you.
Great. Put a little bit of more music just to allow more people to join for 1 minute, and then we can dive in.
So everybody sings, and it's life. Life is life. Living up my life. Life is life. It's a memory of the past, 'cause we all get the power, we all get the best, and everyone gave everything and every song, everybody sing. Life is life. Just an ordinary day.
All right, Dovi, I think we can go. Great, thank you very much. So hi, everybody. We have just very close to 200 guests already. We knew it will be I would say popular topic, but really, numbers are growing, and we just announced this webinar, I think 2 or 3 days ago. So I guess there is a great appetite for the topic, NFT, blockchain, and I also see some really a variety of guests that we have, clubs, federations, leagues from different geos around the world, and startups, of course, investors. So welcome everybody, wherever you are. The purpose of this session today, or webinar, and I would say lineup of great experts, is to really give us, I don't know about you, but I'm discovering this as I go, and I just learn how much I don't know and what's the amazing potential of this topic and the potential impact that it can have on our sports universe. And my objective in the, we are quite practical here at Hype Sports Innovation. My objectives are in the end of this session that all of our special guests, and we also have guests on the social media. This is being broadcasted live on YouTube and LinkedIn and Instagram, if I'm not mistaken. Dovi, correct me if I'm wrong.
Just not Instagram. The rest is all good.
Okay. So the purpose is that by the end of this session, we have, I would say, basic clarity on what is NFT, what are, and I can share some of the questions that we can discuss today just to stimulate your mind. So what is NFT? What are the benefits of NFTs? What are some of the legal considerations to do with NFT? All the issue of IP, royalties, copyrights. We are going to talk about how can we make money of NFTs, whether we are, oops, all good? People can still hear me? I lost the pictures. All right, okay. Dov, if you can bring back the pictures of the panel, it will help me. Thank you. How can we trade that? Trading, what is the best practices for teams, leagues? So plenty of, I would say, great questions. Let's hope we can squeeze as much as we can. We did dedicated longer time today, so it's an hour and a half. So sit comfortably wherever you are in the world, and let's see, what's happening in this great market. I've asked Gianni to give us like a couple of slides to share with us about, to start with, to put it, just to give us the context. What is and what are NFTs? And each one of our experts, if you can, when you talk, if you can just start by doing a short introduction about yourself. So Gianni, feel free to share. You have a couple of slides. Feel free to do that.
Can you see it? Everybody can see that slide? Pretty good?
Yeah.
Perfect. Hi, my name is Gianni Dell'Urta. I'm calling in from Miami, Florida. I've been doing marketing and branding for 20 years. I work for a company like Alienware and have had either worked at agencies or have had my own agency. 2013, I got involved in cryptocurrency. I was lucky enough to be in the house the night before Ethereum was launched and became close friends with many of the members of the original team. I later went to work with the co-founder of Ethereum, Anthony DiOrio, for his for basically the first cryptocurrency wallet that allowed multi-currencies to be part of it. And then in 2018, I started compiling a list of all the NFT projects that were coming out. I was very excited and enamored with the idea. And here we are today. NFTs have blown up and people are enjoying them in many, many different ways. And it looks like our panel has a lot of experience talking about it. So I'm also excited to learn from them and whatnot. So Amir asked me to give a little brief. It's quite challenging. Back in the day when you had to discuss what cryptocurrency was, you had to give the whole explanation because everybody wanted to understand, but why is this funny money? Why does it have value? Why does it have all these things? So we're probably going to get into that with some of the other members of the group. But I like to describe fungibles and non-fungibles in a very visual and very easy way. A fungible item is currency. It's like I have here, a log of wood. They're one of many things, right? Sometimes I like to use the example of a dollar bill. I can spend the dollar bill anywhere and everybody will accept that dollar bill as a dollar bill anywhere in the world. But a non-fungible is a one of one. It's a collectible, right? It's the title of your house. It's an asset, a digital asset, like the first digital asset that was created, or not the first one, but the one that got a lot of attention, which was called CryptoKitties, which you see here, this little cat. And then later on, artwork, like this piece of art that I have here in the physical world, that is a non-fungible. We as humans are non-fungibles, right? We're one of one, we're unique. And just a basic little quick little history. And then I know that one of our other panelists is gonna go a little bit deeper with some of these topics, but I'm gonna give you one other slide before that. But CryptoKitties launched in about 2017. There was a proposal for what a non-fungible should look like on a smart contract blockchain like Ethereum. And these little cats came onto the scene, and basically they're generative art. They have a strand of DNA, in a sense, which each portion of the strand dictates how the cat would look. So the eyes, the color, and special features. Each one of those features have specific bits of rarity. And so they created a little bit of value over time, and people were collecting them. And not to go too deep in them, but people could also breed these cats. So they can sire them with some other cat, and you got a new cat. And then the other aspect is NBA Top Shots, which I think everybody in this call would probably really understand what's going on with NBA Top Shots. But that was an exciting development that happened in October. I was lucky enough to buy a couple packs then. They became quite valuable right after January. But I'll go to my next slide real quick.
Just to stimulate the mind of our mind and our audiences. If I remember right, you bought one in. Tell us the numbers. They jumped and then went down.
So in October, I was very fascinated with the idea of buying a digital asset in cryptocurrency without having to have cryptocurrency.
I think we lost Gianni.
Work. And basically in October, can you guys hear me?
Yeah. We missed you like one sentence. You were explaining the purchase you did with Top Shot.
Yes, pardon me, my internet's having a little bit of instability. But basically, I was waiting to participate in a system that allowed me to use something that did not require me to use cryptocurrency, so that normal people can use it. So I was very excited to use the system. I purchased about 3 or 4 packs, about $114 worth. During that time, there's about $24,000 worth of daily transactions. And in January, I started monitoring it, and it just blew up. So it went from like, $24,000 of daily transactions to 1 million to like 6 million. And so I said, you know what? I think I should look on my back now and see how much it's worth. And my $114 turned into $70,000. I did liquidate $1,000 worth to make sure that I understood how to do that and that I could get some money out, because it's a closed system for right now. But now the value reduced back to like 25,000, and now it's climbing back up again. So just like any market, you have these ups and downs and these swings, but it's quite exciting, and there's quite a lot of activity even outside of their platform, which we can get into afterwards. So let me just jump to this other slide, and I just had 2 slides just to kind of give you guys an idea of the different blockchains and what an NFT is, and a little bit more of a technical side, so that people understand what it is. So the blockchains that I have listed here, there are many blockchains that are out there now, and many that support NFTs, but the most prominent ones are obviously Ethereum. Wax was something that kind of came into play, and they really took advantage of the games space, like digital assets for games. Some of the earlier collectible type digital assets with that NFTs were starting to be deployed on Wax. And then Flow, these are the people that actually created CryptoKitties, the ones that actually moved forward with that. They built their own blockchain that was released in 2020. And that is what Top Shots is built on. It uses a different technology, a different ideology on how their technology works, but it's quite fascinating to keep an eye on this. And then Polygon Matic is what they call a layer 2 to Ethereum. And that allows the transactions to be very inexpensive and very fast. A lot of platforms that were on Ethereum are porting over or going to have interoperability with Polygon. But again, there's many others. And then the last little bit I just wanted to share with everybody, why is it called an NFT? How does an NFT work? But basically, all these blockchains, starting with Ethereum, came up with this idea of smart contracts, which instead of just having a value, I have X amount of dollars or X amount of fungible tokens, there's another little area where they can actually write programmatic code. And these are smart contracts. These are contracts that run on Ethereum or any of these blockchains. But the more important part is why is it called an ERC 721? Why is it an NFT? Because the group of programmers came up with a standardization. And when you get that and you understand what that standardization means, it means that that NFT, when it's sent to one person or the other with their wallet or their system or their browser, they'll be able to see that NFT. Just like if I sent Amir an email, he may open it in Gmail, he may open it in Outlook, but all those programs will be able to read or understand what they're looking at. So some examples of these standardizations are like internet standards. When you go to a website, you go www, all those browsers understand how to read a web page. The same way that we're having this conversation right now through Zoom, they may be using a technology like voice over IP or WebRTC. That's the reason why we can all hear it, because they understand that language. There's a standard. So I just wanted to give kind of like a brief. If anybody has any questions at this point, I don't know if you wanted to wait to the end, but I know there's some other people.
We will allow some questions, so feel free to put some questions on the Q&A. I hope you're planning at least to allow some time for that.
Perfect.
Gianni, thank you very much. I think it was, I think it puts us already in a certain position, but I want Vendana to maybe also share, if you need to explain what NFT is, and you're a lawyer and you'll present yourself, if you can give us your perspective as well.
Yes, for sure, for sure. Thank you. Nice to meet everyone. My name is.
Sorry, Mark, if you can put yourself on mute, it will be highly appreciated.
Sorry.
Hi, everyone. My name is Vandana Texali. I'm an entertainment and arts lawyer. I'm also a founder of my own NFT blockchain platform called Artcryption. So I'm really excited to be here. So I got into this whole space, I would say back in 2017. It was more on the investing side of things and sort of exploring cryptocurrencies, so more like Bitcoin. Then I, a few months later, really got into blockchain, getting certified, really trying to understand it. And as an IP lawyer, I could make the connection between how this whole world and space of blockchain could really revolutionize intellectual property rights. So in terms of jumping off of what Gianni was talking about, NFTs. So NFTs stand for non-fungible tokens. Basically, that is a cryptographic digital representation of an asset. So when we think of an asset, we think of, okay, a house, we think of real estate, we think of a car. So, we can wrap our head around that. But as an IP lawyer, there's intangible assets that, I'm always dealing with my clients. And people have a hard time wrapping their heads around what is an intangible asset. And because it's easily reproducible, like let's say a JPEG or an image on the internet, up until now we've been able to really reproduce it so easily. Now with blockchain and NFTs, we now have this thing with non-fungible token, meaning it's a unique item. So that's like an intellectual property right. And now the difference with Web 3.0, which is blockchain, is it's solving a lot of the problems that we've been facing with Web 2.0, the internet. So with the internet, we've been having a lot of IP like music and art and photography and even video clips and moments and tweets and content out on the internet, and it's been easily reproducible. There's been nothing to really safeguard our intellectual property rights. We've had to rely on IP registries. We've had to rely on lawyers, contracts, pursuing infringements. But the exciting thing with NFTs and blockchain is having this, sort of like unique identity, we can now basically record that on the blockchain and have this digital fingerprint. So a hash, this hash, giving it a unique fingerprint is what now allows us to track that item and that asset. And because of that, we now have the ability to create value from NFTs. So that's why we're seeing like this huge burst of excitement with NFTs right now, because up until now, we could never really give it an identity. It was intangible. It was easily reproducible. It had no value. Now we're giving it value by giving it this, unique identity with a blockchain hash. So that's a quick rundown why I think it's so exciting for the IP world. I'm very excited about it.
It is, and thank you for putting the angle of the royalties. And yes, we are used to work in a world with a lot of pictures and videos, and now I think you gave us another context there. And I had a call with an investor last week from the Silicon Valley, and he told me the following sentence. He says, "This thing, the NFTs, is the first big thing we had in a while." And I thought, wow, it's a beautiful, simple way of explaining. And the fact that we are now sitting and being educated about something, when last time was that happening? So this is really, the feeling of something which is new and being created and we can relate to. And started to look, can I buy NFTs? And I know some of the hype team already purchased some. So, all right. So now I want to move to Chris. Yeah, Chris, from your head as a former NFL digital head of digital, and now with your head as experts in this realm. I want you perhaps, because we have a lot of people in the crowd which are, coming from teams, clubs, federations, also startups that are providing them with solutions. If you can give us like a little bit of how you see the best practices in terms of teams, leagues, if they haven't done anything or they're now just looking to explore something, how do you see this world? How should we approach it?
Yeah, no, very, very good question. And I'll give just 20 seconds of background on me. As you mentioned, Amir, I ran the digital media business for the NFL. I then had a startup in the fantasy sports space that I sold to USA Today about 8 years ago. And since that time, I've been a consultant, advisor, banker of various sorts, and now have a boutique called Fifth Generation Sports, where I advise teams, leagues, and media companies around a number of engagements, but increasingly the questions are arising and the engagements are arising around NFTs. I think almost every team and league that I talk to now has some kind of task force investigating what they should be doing with NFTs. Some obviously have already launched products like the NBA, MLB, and others, but many of the leagues right now are in the early stages of investigating and figuring out their strategy. I would say a couple of things that come up in the conversations a lot that I think are important, which actually are part of any business discussion a team or league would have. And the first is that I think for teams and leagues, this is a long-term opportunity. This is not necessarily just a gold rush. So I would say it's important to look at this from the perspective of creating a high-quality product, a high-quality experience for your fans, because what you don't want to do is go out there with something that looks like you're just trying to rip off fans or make a quick buck, because that's going to really hurt your brand long-term. So I think number one is have a good product. I think number two is that with every new opportunity, whether it's sports betting, social media, the mobile, the leagues and teams have to figure out what gets exploited at the league level and what rights get exploited at the team level, and try to do that in some coherent way that you maximize the opportunity, as opposed to it being a free-for-all and everybody's doing everything, and then all of a sudden you realize your rights are gone and you're competing with each other, or you're creating some system that doesn't make any sense for the fans. So I think, secondly, make sure you've got some framework for the teams and the leagues to work together. Third point would be also figure out how your players or your athletes are going to play into this ecosystem. Are you going to collaborate with your players associations, players unions, and create combine products, or your player's going to go off and kind of do their own things. And again, those could result in free-for-alls and problems. Those could result in interesting products. Nobody really knows, but having a strategy to work with players. And then the fourth point, which is just really more common sense. If anybody says they're an expert at this right now, they really aren't an expert. I mean, we're all learning. It's early days. So you tend to want to avoid broad grants of rights and long-term deals and things that really get you knotted up until we can all figure out what this environment really will provide. But anyway, those are some top-line thinking, Amir, in terms of some of my client discussions.
Yeah, I think you just got our appetite. Be open for more, but we probably come back to you on this, Chris. Thank you. Let's hear a little bit of non-American accent for a change. Dirk from Germany. Dirk, you're a serial entrepreneur, and I got some inside information that you're on your way to your second vaccination later on today, which means you'll need to leave the call a little bit earlier because we
First
don't
one,
want
actually.
to miss that. But I wanted to hear you, from your perspective. You're talking to the leagues, to the clubs, to I would say, the big European teams. What's happening there, and how do you see the NFT from your perspective?
Yeah, thank you, Amir. Just a brief introduction. So, my professional background is mainly in the games industry. So I had several startups there, and then with one last company, I was operating a fantasy sports platform with an official license of the German Bundesliga. So that's and then we operated it a couple of years, and in 2018 I started to look at the NFT space because the Major League Baseball were the first professional league which really came out with an NFT based model, and they had like bobbleheads and used to have the players were designed like this, and they had very low user numbers, but it was a perfect fit that I wanted to extend our fantasy sports platform into that area, and really then make sure that the players can really own, or the users can own the player cards instead of only having pictures that they put in their virtual lineups. And so that's what I was doing there, and we signed up Bayern Munich as our first partner and moved on. But I also sold the company, and so then started a new company, Fans on Media, last autumn, with the idea of sort of follow the route and the approach, because it's just the beginning, right? And now we are developing with two co-founders and our team, so a new fan experience platform with NFT-based trading cards in the first step, and our first IP partner is the German Football Association. So we're going to launch the platform very soon, just before the Euro comes up in June. So we are going to have then NFT player cards with the best German football players, the national team players, but also the women's team and the under 21s. And we are going to extend then the platform with more content and IP partners. As you said, we are speaking there with a lot of different clubs and leagues and associations about the idea that we want to build a platform really, which is sort of, we are taking in fan zones. That means football is the first zone, and German national teams is the first content partner. And then we're going to add more football partners to it, but also branch out to other sports and to other verticals. And at the situation, I think, when I was speaking to clubs and leagues 2 years ago or 2.5 years ago, it was obviously a completely different discussion than I have now, because I had to start really to explain what we are trying to do with an NFT and why this is something special that really can create a very, very compelling experience for the user, because they're getting closer to it. They can own the trading cards or the player cards, and we can work with scarcity and all these elements that weren't possible before that. And now, obviously, everybody knows about NFTs at least on a high level, because it's hyped, and obviously the user numbers and the volumes in terms of transactions have gone up so much in the last couple of months. What also, as Chris already mentioned, is that everybody is really, or let's say a lot of the leagues and the clubs who are trying to now approach it from with a professional attitude and trying to do one step back and say, okay, we need to sort out how we do that strategically in the best possible way, especially the leagues, because they are now struggling with differentiating or how to separate the rights categories that they are used to work with, like let's say collectibles or physical collectibles exclusively for this company, and fantasy sports for this, and then the third one for another. And so these categories, these rights categories, don't really work anymore because you can't give away the exclusive license for NFTs. The NFTs is a technology, and so it's just really, I think it's something that I struggle with, how to approach that, and how to with which partners to work with, exclusive or non-exclusive, and what, because they're so young, the whole industry, that also there will be different types of NFTs and different types of models, how you can utilize the technology in order to make it a fan engagement, but also monetization channel.
Excellent, Dirk. Thank you very much. Look, to be honest, we are very theoretical. If I was in the crowd now, I want to go a little bit more, tangible, real. I looked at the first one from Top Shot, and I saw a clip. Somebody bought, I don't know, it's a rookie player, one of his best, I would say, 3-pointers or whatever. I got it. But Steve, let's hear from you. What is it? Can you explain what can we? If I'm, I know you have a project with Arsenal, yeah. What can I go back to the 80s? I was a big fan of Arsenal in the 80s, 90s. Can I find a clip from there and own it? If I'm Arsenal, can I put all these clips in NFTs? Give me some tangible product. It's all very high level so far.
Right. So it's a great question. And first I'll answer your first question about giving you a little bit of background on myself and Fantastic, so everybody's aware of who we are and what we've done. I'm Steve Medincia, the co-founder of Fantastic Sports Technologies out of London, England. And my co-founder, Simon Woolard, and I really love this problem about distant sports fans and how they could connect better with the sports that they love. And so it drove us to this white space in between the sports leagues, teams, federations who really didn't have the time, effort, energy, or skill base to develop any new technology, and all the tech companies that really didn't understand sports and all the things that have been mentioned already about legal issues and implications and what fans really want. So we loved the problem, but we were agnostic to the solution, right? But we came across the blockchain. We saw what it was doing for crypto. We said, this can do things, other things. We started applying it. So take away the theory now that you're talking about, Amir. And we really, back in 2018, we did 1,000-person user test with Man City. And that user test just proved that this was phenomenal, that people wanted it right now, that they needed it. And this was mainly driven by the mobile first generation. And those are most of the sports fans for all the federations that are out there, 99% of them. We're now living in a mobile first economy. So we all have to pay attention to that. So how am I going to have these cherished things that are behind me, my picture with me and Muhammad Ali? I want it on my phone. I want to show it to my friends at the pub. I want to show it to people at an airport. I want it with me all the time because I'm a mobile first generation person. So, and it's cherished, to me. It's something that I curate. So we started looking at things from the teams, and we have to determine what do the teams have the rights to, what don't they have the rights to. And having worked in Champions League for over 20 years, I understood a lot of that with the European football clubs. And that's why we were able to attract Real Madrid, Borussia Dortmund, and Arsenal, men's and women's. Very important to say the women's part, because I think this is a great equalizer for sports that don't get enough recognition, quite frankly. We had so many women's buyers in 25 markets, 50 markets, 75 markets, 100 markets early on before the men's actually caught on, because this is new technology. Some people were stuck in the old school that they still wanted to chop down trees and make, paper cardboard stuff or print it in a book that their parents threw away. This is your phone. This is where you're going to keep it. This is the first thing, if your house burns, you're going in and you're going to grab and you're going to take with you for every single person. It's got your favorite music. It's got your favorite pictures. And now it's going to have your favorite curated sporting moments. So when we put up things like just 2 days ago, we had a silver special collection that we put together for Arsenal. It went in 1 hour and 20 minutes. Now, we didn't anticipate that because we were targeting a specific geographic area. But that's the things that we've done since that 2018 test with Man City to what our product is now, is we've tested markets, we've tested consumers, we test what they like, what they don't like, because we provide an end-to-end, Chris was talking about this, the quality of your product. We provide an end-to-end NFT service because we all love the headlines and we'd all love the money of those headlines. But once this balloon breaks, and it will break, quite frankly, at some point, there's going to be $1 billion market that's going to continue because of this mobile first generation. And that's why every league, federation, club needs to think about it and needs to put their fans first. And if they do like we do, when there's a decision between technology and fans, and they go on the fan side, then they're doing the right thing. If it's between the team and the fans and they go on the fan side, they're doing the right thing. And that's what drives us in our designs, our creation, and our smart contracts that we write for the long term for everything that our fans have on our platform and stuff like that.
Great. I think you made it much more tangible, but I know, Gianni, you have a real product to share with us, like a real NFT. So let's see how this looks like. Maybe some of you already familiar with that, but I'm sure for some it will be the first time they see that. We cannot hear you. Maybe you put unmute yourself.
Yeah, sorry about that. Too many windows. So this is NBA Top Shots. Obviously, many probably have seen this because this is the biggest, the biggest news headline of NFTs. And I do believe that NBA Top Shots kind of propelled the rest of the NFT industry. Because many people could come in and now they were exposed to what an NFT was. So these are some of the ones that I got as opening the pack. And just so everybody knows, when I purchased these, it was very easy. But after it became very popular, there were about 200,000 people waiting to purchase these packs that would be released. So they had to contend with, how do you queue people up to buy them and all these other crazy things. And
quick question, Gianni. First of all, you buy it from this platform, in this case, on the NBA website.
This is the NBA Top Shot website, not the NBA website. Mm-hmm.
If you want to sell it, you can sell it anywhere in any other NFT platform.
Not at this moment, because this is built on Flow, which is the Dapper Labs blockchain.
Yeah.
Right now, they do not have the capacity to allow that. They're onboarding applications one by one, but eventually, most likely, they will have the means to do that, so that other marketplaces may be created.
Now,
but
if I want to own something from Magic Johnson or something Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, can I have that?
So those, I don't think they've been minting or creating any like past or like classic NBAs.
Why is that?
I'm not sure. Maybe there's a licensing thing. Maybe they're waiting to do that. I'm not sure. I think Steve raised his hand. He has some comment about that.
Yes, please, Steve.
Yeah, they'll come around to that eventually. They have plans for that. I know Rohan and Nick, the two co-founders of Dapper Labs, quite well. Very clever guys. They're moving in the right direction. We're all moving at the speed of lightning. It's all about rights. And Vandana mentioned it earlier. You have to have those rights before you can mint anything. And we all have seen stuff that's gone up on OpenSea and elsewhere. And we're like, boy, those people don't have those rights. They're going to get in trouble. So there's a lot of components you have to put together to have a successful NFT.
Yeah, we'll touch the issue of rights because I can hear the noises of all our guests now working around that, because I can get this is a key element of understanding the potential of this. And Vandana, please, I give you a 2 minutes heads up, because your mind will be needed here shortly. But Mark, you're a serial entrepreneur and investor for many years, and you are leading Free Tone. which is a blockchain, a very special blockchain platform. And I want to maybe hear your perspective, knowing this industry, the potential, the NFTs. How do you see this from your end? Well, you know, what's the game here?
Thank you very much. Amir, just a couple of words also on my background. I've been in corporate finance and investment banking for over 30 years, leading an M&A advisory team based out of Moscow. But I have been a venture investor for many, many years, actually being one of the first members of New York Venture Association. And so investing in some of the first techie companies. And in 2017, we got tied to the concept of Mr. Pavel Durov, creation of Telegram Open Network. And when he dropped, unfortunately, because of the situation with Security and Exchange Commission, we collected 23 top validators around the world and actually launched, let's call it Durov's code. Today it's called Freetone, but basically we are continuing the saga of Mr. Durov, creating a real ecosystem, which is today one of the fastest, one of the cheapest blockchains in the world. Talking about the NFT sphere, we actually launched our first NFT, but at that time was not called NFT, it was called art tied to a blockchain project called Cryptonumies in 2017. And in the early 18, I actually presented the product, the first art blockchain conference at Christie's. And of course, it had a very positive effect. But going back, something that gentlemen, everybody addressed, the idea of the cards, the idea of resell of personalities that is taking it off something in your hands to a digital format. One of the things that we are focused on today, and we are about to launch, probably will be launched sometime in June, is the decentralized platform for ticketing. In reality, your ticket is a collectible. I mean, there are many people that actually, they don't collect arts. They collect football tickets or other tickets, right? But let's take it to the other side. What gives an ability, or what gives a sale of a ticket or create an NFT ticket tied to blockchain? Well, number one, you know the buyer because it's in his wallet. You can actually control and be contributed and be part of the resale of the ticket. So if the ticket is resold in your smart contract that the club or the owner of his of even an NFT of an individual player is tied, he can put in there terms at which every time his NFT is resold or every time the ticket is resold. And we know one of the biggest problems today that clubs face are scalpers, okay? Scalpers resell tickets at significantly greater value. So what we're doing is we're putting into the smart contract that if that ticket is sold at a different price, because you will know what the price is, because it's tied to a smart contract, the club will receive that percentage from the resale. This could be huge difference for the clubs. So I see that the NFT space is not just, and even for the sports, is not just about resale of cards, but it could be tied to many other things that could be of benefit to both players, clubs, and associations. There's the future.
Excellent. Yes. Mark, thank you very much for that. Now, before we go to Vandana and the panel with regards to other questions, and I can see already questions coming from our audience, I would like to use also this opportunity, because I know there are a lot of startups in the audience as well. And we at Hype decided to do something about NFTs for startups. And I want to share with you something that I think will be of an interest. I think it's also related to the overall sports universe, clubs, federations. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, can you make it?
As
Yeah.
most of you are familiar with, we decided to focus our next verticals of sports on 8 topics, which are solving the main burning issues of sports innovation, of sports. But recently, because of the feedback we got from our brands, our clubs, federations, investors, we decided to open another vertical which will focus on NFTs. The vertical concept is that we allow startups, I would say the elite startups in the NFT world, to team up with those brands. This is the brands that are part of the GVA 2.0 program, with the idea of doing a pilot together. So startups that will be chosen by those brands, it's not me or anybody else choosing them. They are being chosen to the program by the brand. So if you look at that, for example, this is a list of the startups that were chosen to our brand. So for pilots to start the process of conducting a pilot together. Yeah, and you see clubs, Lululemon, Under Armour, FIBA, and the startup that were chosen. This is the clubs and federations vertical. Yeah, you see here, you mentioned DFB, Dirk, you have NBA teams, NFL teams, the French federations, and these are the startups that have been accepted to explore a pilot with. The same media and broadcasting. So the idea is to solve real solutions, real challenges of the sports stakeholders. So startups that are here and are interested to be part of this, you can ping us later on and we can invite you to join the application. Obviously, we are looking for a small number of NFT startups that can really install their solutions tomorrow. So it's not like futuristic idea. So coming back to Vendana, you're coming from art, so maybe it's not fair for me to put all the weight of royalties. So I invite the team and maybe Chris and Steve and Dirk and anybody else to help here. But if I'm a team, let's say I'm a Premier League team, or I'm a small team, even in Italy, 2nd division, I have 100 years of history. The last 50 years were filmed. There is a lot of, I would say, memories, and I have my crowd. What can I now take to bring to my digital museum or digital platform? How do I look at royalties and IPs? Is it with my current contract with, I don't know, Sky or whoever it is? Or is it related to my previous 20 years ago? What is just so we have a by and large picture?
No, for sure. Good question. Good question. And, I see questions in the audience as well from Frank Liato saying he doesn't understand what he owns. If he buys an NBA Top Shot, is that content mine? So it sort of relates back to your question. At the end of the day, you've got this, huge video content library, let's say, of all these amazing moments. The first thing you need to do is look at, do I own the IP rights in this content? Do I have the clearances rights from anyone appearing in that content? So the answer is yes, you have something that you can, potentially, convert into an NFT. But you want to make sure that you have the copyright. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. And so you take that moment and you can now mint it as an NFT. And now what you're doing effectively is creating this one-of-a-kind asset. That's like a special moment in history. And what makes that special of an NFT versus the same moment that's not been minted on the NFT is the fact that the one that's been minted as an NFT has this, feeling of specialness, uniqueness, because it's been now forever placed on the blockchain. So that gives it value and it's scarcity because that particular piece of content is something that's released from the copyright holder that they've authorized to be released. So it gives it that value. And, taking that now, you can, with an NFT, it's basically software code that's like a smart contract. So you can, do all these amazing things like, share royalties. You can track, where it's gone on the blockchain. With art, the marketplaces are really looking at things like resale royalties, meaning that every time that NFT is resold, the original copyright owner or creator is getting a percentage back. And up until now, we haven't really been able to effectively track something like that. So, it's really exciting in that realm. So, so if you look at an NFT just like, like you would a piece of copyright work, and you kind of look at it in that sense, I think it makes a lot of sense in terms of what you can do going forward with it. Now, I just want to mention the person buying it, they don't get the copyright. They're just getting a right to, showcase it or say they own the ownership. Just like when you buy a piece of art, you're not getting the underlying copyright. You're just buying the physical art. So that's a distinction that needs to be clearly made. And I think if you're starting to think about doing your own platform, let's say if you're not using another platform, you want to make that clear in the smart contract that you are not transferring the IP rights or the copyright. You're just transferring that ownership of that NFT.
Chris, if I own a team in Italy or London or in US, what do I need to do now to see if I own those? I just bought the team 2 years ago. What do I know about what happened 20 years ago? What's the story?
Yeah, I think if you you own a team, there's a couple of things that you're going to look at, which is what rights do you own versus what rights are held at the league level, whether that's for video footage, whether that's for imagery, whether that's for other intellectual property. So that's one thing you're going to look at. The second thing you're going to look at is what rights do players own beyond just the league? Are there issues with respect to your players? And then you want to see what do you kind of have full control of yourself, which you could potentially go out and create into an NFT without any third parties. So for example, Golden State Warriors did some NFTs recently that were replicas of the ring, the championship rings, and their ticket stubs, because apparently they felt they had clean rights to those things. They didn't involve player images, didn't involve video that the league might control, but that was something within their own purview that they could create as an NFT. So you typically want to start and say, well, what do I control? Is that interesting enough? If that's not interesting enough, who do I have to go partner with to get more rights? And that partner could be the league level, it could be a broadcaster, it could be a players association, but you want to start with an inventory of what you have and then see what you might need to add through some relationship or some contract.
Would it be right to say, Chris, that it's could be totally different rules relates to that in Europe, in a certain league in Poland, or I don't know, Tel Aviv, Israel, or versus the US? It could be totally different. Also, maybe in the same country, there could be totally different rules regarding who owns what, and so it's really a haven for lawyers now. Yeah, that's where, if you're a lawyer, that's the place to go. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you're right. It is going to be different based on what the league governance rules are, what the third-party contracts are with the broadcasters, with the players. So yes, each situation is going to be different, and you want to make sure you have the right legal advice to be doing things properly. I would also say, I would imagine in some cases, the rights aren't even clear because this is a right that might not have even been contemplated. So that makes it even more complicated. Again, I think what you have to do is what do you definitively own? And then who do you need to partner with to create something that's going to be interesting? But you got to make sure whatever you put out to the fans is compelling enough that you're going to be proud of it and it's going to have long-term value.
Dirk.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah, I wanted to add something to that because I think one really interesting point is in that context that clubs or even also leagues have the chance now to also monetize historic moments and archive materials, which didn't really have a value so far, but which you now can really put into and embed into an NFT and make it really a collectible because it's going to be a digital, scarce or unique or very super rare moment that people then really can own and have, and I think that's very new next to the other, let's say, use cases that can be built. But so one little example, we were speaking to a rather small German basketball club, but they have some archive material with Dirk Nowitzki because he started his career there, and so obviously this would be a great asset for Dirk Nowitzki and basketball fans. If they have some the historic moments that they can put into an NFT and bring to the fans.
You know, looking at I think somebody mentioned the gold rush. Yeah, you know the story. I don't know if it's true or not. That the people that made the most money in the gold rush were the people selling the tools on the way. Yeah. Who is going to make the most money in this game? Anybody?
I personally believe anybody that's building tools and platforms, just like you said, the picks and axes is what they say. Those who sell picks and axes are the ones that will continue because those picks and axes are useful even after the gold rush is done. But I do believe anybody that's building the infrastructure to enable these things, the tooling that enables anybody to interact with these platforms is going to be the one that's successful. Plus, I believe that the intellectual property of the actual software that's created will be interoperable even in other industries and in other segments and other verticals if you can build that and offer it. And we're seeing that a lot. There's a lot of new applications being built in this space.
Now, you mentioned, I think, Dirk, you mentioned, or maybe Steve as well, you mentioned there are other stuff apart from those clips of video of, you know, the historic moments. What else can be done on NFTs for sports? What else is, you know, if I'm now looking to create something, what are the, you know, other products? Is there other line of new products I can come? What are the, like, the 5, 6, 7 products I would look at?
Yeah, that's great to ask that question because we are just at the tip of the iceberg for everything that NFTs can do. But from a design perspective, you know, there's still photography, there's videography, there's animation. I always give the example, we have a wonderful young Arsenal women's player that said, look, I do 2 things. I snowboard and I play football. Can you do anything on my card around snowboarding? So we put her in front of a green screen. She did all of her moves and everything. Then we added animation. And for 100 days, her fans around the world went crazy trying to get that small collection and those things into their file because they knew that that's what she loved and that's what she wanted to do. Earlier, it was mentioned about tickets. You know, imagine that after a ticket, I heard Ted Leonsis mention this about if you're there when Ovechkin scores his famous goal and stuff like that, you could sell that ticket stub on because it's digital and make some money off of it. Well, I'll go one step further, make it an NFT and show the 10-second clip of that goal. And then you can really sell it on if you wanted to, or you could really keep it because you're going to have a wallet of your memories. You're going to have these things that you curate because what we're really talking about here is that everybody's mentioned it just once, but it's about value. It's giving fans value for their fandom, right? So they have both the emotional value from the moment, from attending it. And by the way, we can all attend the same event, 80,000 people in the stadium, and value something different. But right now, the focus is on the economic value. And that's mainly the secondary market. And that's mainly driven by people that are into cryptocurrency. I don't have any problem with that. But some of the leagues, federations, teams might want to be more focused on their long-term fans. You mentioned about the small teams. And that's one thing that we've been testing quite heavily lately is with a club that's been devastated because they have no fans in their 5,000-seat stadium, can we make a really small group of NFTs for them so they can get some money back, so they can earn some money from those loyal fans because they are typically very, very loyal in that respect.
Yeah. Mark, I have a question for you from our social, from the live broadcast on YouTube. Chris Carley is asking, how quick can a right holder produce an NFT and put it into the market?
Question of minutes. In reality, on the platform that we have done, it's a matter of minutes. I mean, if you look at the different platforms that are popular right now, there's an onboarding process. There is the slow movement of, let's say, the most popular platform, which is Ethereum confirmations. In reality, on Freetone, this could be done in minutes. But I did want to evolve a little bit on maybe something different that is being done. Maybe it is a little bit of a secret at this moment, but We are working with the Qatar 2022 group for the event. We're doing many things, but one of the things that we are now presenting is a concept of a lady who is a painter. She paints eggs. She has sent out 4 million eggs to different painters, different people to paint. So what we were proposing to do at the end is to create a Qatar football flag that could be able to be seen from space. Actually, you will be able to take a picture of this from space. And considering that Qatar is focusing on about 3 to 4 million visitors, each egg will be tied to NFT, and each participant that will come to Qatar for the games can actually buy the egg, so he can own a part of 2022 games. And this could be replayed and revolved into, I don't know, other World Cups, the European Cup, the World Cup, and so on and so on. There are many future applications that could be brought to the table with NFTs.
Great.
Amir, can I answer your YouTube question? Because we have a real life example where in the Europa Cup, Arsenal had a match at night. When the final whistle blew, my team created NFTs. They then sent them into the marketplace overnight to be tested, A, B, which designs fans love the best around the world. They had them ready in the morning to have the client sign off on them. The client signed off on them. We minted them, put them on the blockchain. They were ready to go by lunchtime. So if you do all the steps correctly, that's probably about as fast as you can do.
Once you're already working with you have a vendor from A to Z, it's fast. But I guess I think the guy was asking, Chris was asking about probably from A to Z when you have your content, but you don't have anybody to help you you haven't chosen anybody to work with. This, I believe, takes a little bit longer. Gianni, Mark.
I'm sorry. If you actually have a digital asset in a proper format, it could take minutes to upload and to put it up for auction.
Okay.
So to answer Chris's question.
All right. So I can send you,
I think again, going back, just would like to address one more issue. So as I understand, there are quite a few participants from clubs, from leagues, associations, and I think what again everybody missed in their idea of NFT ability to resell unique products is the fact that in smart contract you could actually write in there to be able to participate in future resale, and that is where, if you're selling a card of a player, digital card of a player, or some other digital item of a club or a video, it's sold. If you're selling a physical asset, you will never participate in the future resale. You could do that with a smart contract where you will always participate in the future resale. And this is a very important issue for clubs and owners.
Smart.
I'd like to just make a note on that if possible.
Gianni, yes, please. And please also, if you can add a answer to the following question by Balu Nayar. He's asking, if I'm working on creating a marketplace of selected sports NFTs, what are the advantages of owning my own platform versus using the other platforms like OpenSea?
Got it. I'll address that in a second, but just to respond to Mark real quick, just a little bit of a tad of clarification. Currently, right now, the object of an NFT is an NFT. It's an object that could be sold like a chair or your phone, whatever. It doesn't know that it has a resale or royalty attached to it. Currently, the NFT itself, that standard, does not have royalties built in. The marketplaces are what have the royalties built in. So if you are going to use OpenSea, for example, or Rarible, they have adopted a standard that allows that royalty. And so if they adopt that standard, then it's interoperable between.
Correct, of course.
But I just wanted to make that clarification.
Yes. And to the question,
thank you.
And to the question, Gianni.
Yeah, I'm going to do the question right now. But just to add to that, what Mark said, that's the opportunity to build that interoperability, to make those systems do that across the board. And probably with everybody within this audience, be interoperable with everybody else within the sports world. So as far as the question of the build your own platform or not, there's certain advantages and disadvantages. Right now, OpenSea and Rarible and many of these are building a lot of infrastructure like APIs, protocol layers that you can then build your own platform utilizing their technology. You don't have to potentially build that smart contract to mint the NFT. You can use their APIs and their already tried and true smart contracts to do that, and then display it on your side however you like. That's an option. But I do believe that everybody in this audience, if they're building something, the front end needs to be theirs, right? They need to display it. They need to showcase it. You know, I can, and I want, you know, later on, hopefully I get the opportunity to show some other examples of how NBA Top Shots are being used in other platforms, but it's still the NBA Top Shot. The front end though, if you're gonna go sell, so I'll give you a perfect example to consider this. Even though there may be secondary markets for NBA Top Shots, I don't believe many people will use those secondary markets. I believe that they're going to go to the NBA Top Shot marketplace, right? Because that's where you have the collections. That's where you have the rewards. If you collect a certain amount of NBA Top Shots, you can get a reward of a special edition card. I love to, you know, some people here are old enough. You might have had G.I. Joes or you had Star Wars characters and you collected 5 or 6 of them and you send the proof of purchase and you got a special Star Wars character in the mail, right? So they're doing that with NBA Top Shot, incentivizing people to do that. But you can only do that on NBA Top Shot's website. So you should really consider owning your front end. But there were many opportunities to use other people's technology and potentially build special technology for yourself that others don't have, right? Other front end features and functionality.
Thank you, Gianni. Dirk?
Yeah, just wanted, because I have to leave in 5 minutes, as I mentioned, my first vaccination shot.
To miss the
that's just,
vaccination.
Just wanted to add that what Gianni said, because that's really also the for the future, the most, from my perspective, the most exciting feature, let's call it, that the NFTs have, because it's the first time that the item, and the user owns the item that he buys, but the item can leave the application where it comes from. And that's completely new in games. Normally it's all in walled gardens. If I buy my items in Fortnite or other games, they are there and I have to use them in there. And here it's so that NFTs are owned by the users and they can take it somewhere else, not only to marketplace, but also to other applications. So, and we don't have to develop those applications necessarily. So there could be other guys out there developing applications that give a utility to our NFTs. So there could be that the Manuel Neuer card can be used somewhere else because somebody else allows our NFTs to be used in the application. And this interoperability is giving completely new chance also for really creative collaboration ideas for giving a completely new decentralized economy that's going to be built up here. I think that's also not yet here at the moment, but this is going to be built by a lot of different developers, and so that this interoperability comes really into place.
Got it.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much. And you need to go.
Yeah.
All good. Go safe and come back safe to us. Thank you for that. I told you we have some a good line of guests and viewers and listeners, but one specifically, the big Mickey Tamir, one of the famous serial entrepreneurs, is asking a question. Hi, Mickey. Mickey is the founder of Track 160 and Tel Aviv. He's asking, let's see how you cope with that. Does an athlete capturing a compelling video during a personal practice session have full rights on this video and can create an NFT out of it?
Bandana, she has to answer that one.
Yeah,
I'll say yes, we do it. We're doing it already with Real Madrid, with Arsenal, you know?
Okay.
So I would say it would depend on, is the athlete just capturing themselves or are they capturing other athletes? If it's just a video moment of themselves and they own all the rights, then yes, 100% they can create an NFT. If they're capturing other elements that, you know, they may need to get permission if there's other athletes in the video content. So once again, it just boils down to, do you own the IP rights in that video? And it, you know, if you do or if you don't, let's get it. Let's create the NFT. And let's say you don't, maybe you share the royalties with everyone. So there's always a solution.
All right, another question from Alan Mix. Sorry, anybody else wants to comment on that? No. Another question by Alan Mix. Who manages the counterparty risk of these NFTs?
Is it the counterparty risk on the aspect of the sale of this? Is that, I don't know, to
Not
clarify. But
Okay.
if you consider that as the counterparty, the marketplace being controlled by the smart contract itself, there is a marketplace smart contract. So that interaction is done without counterparty risk because it's being controlled by that thing. Now, one thing to consider, tapping into that previous question of should you build your own or not, you just have to be very careful because smart contracts are like a microchip. Once that is embedded, right, that program, you cannot technically change it. There are upgrade paths and whatnot, but you have to be very careful that whatever you're building has been tried and true, security tested, because then you may have counterparty risk that you have someone that's going to access or do something with your smart contract. So, but yes, there are escrow services. There are like so many different technologies that are being built to remove or reduce all that. All this DeFi, cryptocurrency, decentralized exchanges remove certain counterparty risk to the point where they even have insurance markets that are being built within DeFi to protect the participants in this completely decentralized. So, so I hope that answers the question. I'm not sure. That was
another question about children. Jeremy Charter is asking, children are the biggest collectors of football cards. Can NFTs ever be accessible for and by children? And probably owned by children. What's the topic? What's the views on that?
Of the first 100,000 people on our platform, 17 years and younger, so down to 4 up, because we're the only ones that are on the App Store. So we're 4+, right? So you're 1 click away from an NFT. But we had 22% were in that 17 and under category. So they're, you know, the kids have to get their parents' permission. It's GDPR and all that kind of stuff that you have to follow. But as long as you do the onboarding things correctly and properly, they're the most active people that we have on ours. I mean, we've got a lovely note from a lady saying her children no longer fight in the back of the car when she drives them to school. They're just trading with kids in Toronto and Tokyo and swapping all day long on Fantastic Swap. And that's great. That's great news.
The next big thing we'll see will be to see a Super Bowl ad for kids to buy NFTs, I guess. Anyway, Chris, that's for you.
Old school.
Thanks. If I'm a professional, team owner, and I create a collectibles that I sell for fans for price $1, can I create a closed marketplace along the fans to sell for a higher price?
Well, I think that ultimately gets to the arrangement you have with the marketplace and these smart contracts or other people on the panel who are more adept on those particular issues. But yeah, I think that is the idea, is if you are a team owner, you can create NFTs, and then when they get resold, you're getting cut into the revenues of that resale, which is something you typically aren't in a secondary ticket market, for example. So I think that is one of the big benefits. I think the other thing that we haven't really talked about yet is this kind of confluence of ticketing and collectibles and fan passion, the ability to create affinity clubs or loyalty programs in a 21st century way that really lets the team engage directly with their most passionate fan, really allows the team to reward those fans with extra benefits as they engage more. So I think we'll see new kinds of loyalty programs tied to ticketing and NFTs as we go forward. Right now, a lot of the talk about NFTs is, okay, I bought that video clip or I bought that image, but I think the functionality is going to go far deeper and more comprehensive.
Could I add a little bit to
Sure,
what Chris
please.
said so I can show an example of what an extension that supports Chris's comment right now?
Please, Gianni. While you're sharing another quick question, I'm throwing to the air. All right, you go. You're fast.
So just as an example, this is NBA Top Shots, like I mentioned. This is a stat program that was created. You put in your handle, and it basically shows all your top shots, and they create their own valuation mechanism. And it's almost like, you know, a marketplace thing. This is not owned by Top Shots. This is a secondary thing. They're accessing the blockchain and tabulating, indexing all the movement of the whole market. So this is a whole industry. There's 3 or 4 of these different types of ranking systems that have been created. And then I'll give you a couple more examples. This is Swish. This is a fantastic idea. So in NBA Top Shots, I can create a collection. I can pick different cards. And basically what they do is 2-pointers, 3-pointers, assists, whatever, you know, you have to pick one of each. They lock it in on Sunday. The teams play during the week, and those points are tabulated. And then you have a decentralized fantasy sports thing. They're basically paying out like $100. It's more of an experiment, but this is using NBA Top Shots. This is using, and this is a third party, right? Third party. And then the last example, just to show affinity, this is something from the NBA lab. I just spoke to one of the artists that's part of this thing. This actual artist, they took a piece of the deck of one of the basketball stadiums. I believe it's where, I think he told me, where Kobe would take his shots. And so they're doing an art piece. They're selling the art piece and providing the NBA, sorry, not the NBA Top Shot, but they're providing an NFT. So I think the use cases, especially with Chris and with Mark, you know, Mark with the ticketing, and what Chris was saying, that affinity, you could do tickets that are only available for that year, right? And those NFTs that you collect may become valuable because that's the year that they won, you know, whatever major award they had. And then to top that, I believe that you also have the ability to gate content, right? So if you own that NFT, you may be able to go to a website or go to a channel or do something that only those people who own the NFT have access to it, right? So it becomes like a VIP ticket. It becomes something very valuable that goes outside of that. And I'll give one other example. I know of a project that they're, you know, and there's actually some famous people that are doing it, signatures with NFTs, right? So there may be the ability where, you know, the team creates a
Sign. He signed, you know, the project.
Yes.
You know what?
Guys,
would
just
like
being
to-
aware
I'm here.
of time. Thank you for this, Gianni. I want to address the last question, which I think will people probably would love, and then to do a quick summary of the session by each one of you. Todd Kellman is asking, do the players themselves get any cut out of the NFT? For example, LeBron James Slam Dunk sell for $250,000. Does he get anything? And how does the revenue share anyway between the parties? Who wants to jump?
It's a very simple answer. It's all written in a smart contract. So smart contract, as the gentleman answered before, is your biggest risk. So how well the smart contract is written and what you secure actually in that smart contract is what each person on the step of the smart contract receives. So definitely the player, if there is written that they are participating in the future resale, will definitely participate.
Mark, that's a very long answer for.
Sorry.
Did
The answer is yes.
Did LeBron get his cut or not? That's the question.
Yes, the answer is yes. It has to be in the smart contract.
I'm sure Chris maybe wants to add on that, maybe. I think you're muted.
You're on mute.
Thank you. Sorry about that. So it really all depends on what the deal between the Players Association and the league is in terms of the licensing of those rights. And so there may be a league, well, again, I don't know specifically in the Top Shots case, but this is going to be an issue with all leagues. Depends on what the Players Association gets as a revenue share or a participation for the license of this kind of product, as well as every other product. That's one way of thinking about what the player's cut is through the PA. But then the other way is if a player goes out and does something outside of the league, not wearing his league uniform, and is just an individual, in that case, the player may participate even more, like the Gronkowski NFTs or Pat Mahomes, where they are not necessarily doing that through a league or a team, but they're doing that on their own. They may participate with greater revenues on that kind of product.
Another question that comes to mind, maybe it's too complicated, but do you think the next big contract, let's say, of the Olympic Games will include selling the NFT rights? Or the World Cup?
It very well could. I mean, there's no question that everybody's looking at everything. But to come back to what a couple points were made there, this is really no different than selling jerseys with a player's name on the back. So if a team has those rights, they have the rights to do something like this. And it's the team that's going to have you take those rights and use them equally. So you can't use just LeBron James. You have to use all the Lakers and stuff like that. And you talked about signatures. I mean, you can't see, there's actually one of the Wonder Kids right there. I was doing a signature on our platform, right? Everybody would love to have that kid's signature. You can't do it now in the pandemic era to go get a signature from him. So you have to get it on our platform.
Great. Let's do a quick round. I think it was amazing, at least for me. I'm going to watch it twice. It never happened to me on a webinar, just to get what you said, because I missed half of it. Vendana, please, your summary for where we are, the potential, and your maybe few, I would say, tips for our special audience, which most of them are still here, which is quite commendable.
No, that's great.
Because it's a great topic.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to summarize by saying, look at NFTs like part of your program of when you're trying to exploit assets. So for example, any kind of merchandising that if you're, in a team and you're extending with, T-shirts and hats, look at NFTs like that, basically. And some tips to be mindful of is, just ensuring that, read the terms and conditions of the platform that you're going to be using, or if you're creating your own platform, make sure you have the right terms and conditions. What ownership rights are you getting to be able to exploit that NFT? You want to make sure, the smart contract and that you trust, the developers that have created that product. The jurisdiction clause is another one, because you're buying, what governing law, happens on that platform, because, a lot of this is international. So once again, you want to look at the terms of use and put the governing law. I think, just looking at this like an IP right, an extension of your brand, like you would merchandising, I think that's how you can sort of wrap your head around this.
Great. I'm sure there are tons of other questions regarding the legal aspect, the IP, the royalties, and thank you very much, Vendana. We will have your details available on sharing this later on with our audience, all of you, so they can contact you directly. Gianni, your takings of the session, and anything you want to wrap up with.
No, the session was fantastic. It's like you said, you want to watch it again, but the great thing is that everybody here is an expert in their own right. We're not experts on NFTs because that's developing as we speak, like right now. But the takeaway that I like everybody to know is that, number one, you're early. This is still young. The rules have not been set. There's so many other things that can be done in this space, and mind-blowing ideas that are just popping up every day, okay? And then the second thing is, I like to consider NFTs another medium, right? There's a painting that you paint on a canvas or you chisel out a rock, but it's what value that artist, that creator, that business builds into that NFT, right? There is going to be a point that every phone may have a save as feature and maybe save as NFTs. And Vendana will have to hopefully help all those people deal with all the rights that will create if I take a picture and sell that NFT, and then, you know, all these other things that happen. But what's going to happen is, what other value can you put to the creation and use of the NFTs? And there's been a lot of examples provided here, but it's not just about the art or the video. What other things and utility can you add to it to bolster the value? And it could be just the fact that you're a team that and own the rights to do it. That's enough, but there's other stuff you could do. So that's my leave behind for everybody.
Inspiring stuff. Thank you, Gianni.
Thank you.
Let's move to Moscow. Mark. We moved to Moscow without the Wi-Fi, so we'll come back to you in a minute. Let's move to Steve, London.
Completely aligned in the future, and it lies pictures of videos. There's so many. Again, this is sorry. Hello, can you hear me?
Mark, start again.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm going to agree with Johnny. Let's call it the smart contract tied to blockchain is going to give you an ability to protect your assets. And there are so many more things to explore besides tickets, besides cards, besides videos. Choose the right partner and choose the right product. That's your key.
Great. Thank you, Mark. Steve.
I would just say that, yes, like everybody said, we're early. Our creativity is there. Fans have been crushed. Sports have been crushed. This is a golden opportunity to get back to those fans and give them the value that they love and that they want, and do it right, do it correctly, do it properly, and the rewards will come afterward. If you're chasing the headline numbers that you see from the secondary market, from people buying with Bitcoin, you might be disappointed. So just do it for the fans.
Great, and I think you know, just feeling that we just to touch the surface of that and just the basic of what can be created here, and we are planning to do another session, maybe to go a little bit, you know, to allow us to get a little bit more of that. Chris, please.
Sure. Again, I think to repeat a theme a lot of the panelists have shared, you know, put the fan first. Focus on quality and focus on the longer term. I think those things will be good North Stars in the midst of a lot of confusion in the market in early days of this market. So again, you typically don't go wrong if you put your customer first and if you give them a quality product. The other thing that's very interesting to me, which certainly came out in this panel, is there's so many new and emerging companies to work with, and whether it's the platforms, it's the service providers, the technology companies. It's an exciting time to meet new companies, new potential business partners, new potential companies you may even want to invest in. And so to be part of that ecosystem and to learn it and roll up your sleeves makes this very interesting.
I love it, and I love the emphasis you put on fan engagement. We haven't touched it a lot, but it's not only about money. There is a lot of built-in elements of engagement and deep engagement that could be created through that. Unfortunately, this is what we have time for today. I want to thank all of you, Vendana, Gianni, Chris, Mark, Dirk, Steve. Great session. Thank you very much for your contribution here. And as you shared, it's just the beginning.
Here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you.
If you want to get into NFTs right away, go to the App Store. Fantastic swap. Download it. One click, you're there. You're in the App Store, and you're in the NFT business.
The
Cheers,
last little
everybody.
bit, someone decided to take a picture of us, and they're selling it as an NFT, and then
There's our royalties.
have already put our addresses. So
All right. Sounds good.